they're accountable to themselves. They're like, they determine what's good and bad. That's a lot of it. Like, a lot of people think that they determine what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Grounded Podcast. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Marissa. And today we're going to be talking about pride. Now, pride is a thing that I feel like a lot of people struggle with, you know. So let's start here, right? What is pride? What do you think pride is? What does the word say pride is? Like, what is pride?
So what do I think pride is? Pride is, I equal pride to being selfish.
Okay.
It's about you, your way. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. So that's what pride is for me. And when I think of pride. Now, biblically, we have Proverbs 16:18. It says, "Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." So, biblically speaking,
That's okay.
when it comes to pride, it's being so wrapped up in yourself that you avoid or ignore what God is trying to say to you or speak to you.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
So I know there are like some stories in the Bible. I mean, there's so many, but there is one specific story in the Bible that I want to share with you guys today. When it comes to pride, Pharaoh.
I was just about to say that.
We talked about Moses in one of our other episodes, but Pharaoh experienced his story of pride is Pharaoh thought he was a god. He was defiant when God told him to let his people go, the Israelites go, and because of his pride, God showed Pharaoh how weak and how little he actually was. God gave Pharaoh multiple chances in order to bring his pride down.
A lot, like...
You know, because let's just go back to when we were little kids. Prince of Egypt? The movie Prince of Egypt. The first thing was when God sent the little bugs.
The locusts.
Yeah, the locusts. And that killed one of Pharaoh's sons.
Oh yeah, that was another plague, I think. Yeah.
Was that?
It was like his. It was a different one.
Oh no, that was when he put the blood.
Yeah. The blood was with the sons. Yeah.
Okay. We you know
it's the same plugs. Yeah.
It's one of them. But no, that was another example of God giving him another chance and trying to bring his pride down, showing him how little he is, but that didn't do anything for Pharaoh. It made him more angry.
Right.
And so, actually, when he lost his son is when he told... Take them and leave. But I guess when it clicked to him, that he's like, no, I'm not getting down like that. He sent soldiers after
he went too.
The Israelites. Yeah, and himself. Yeah. After the Israelites to go get the people to bring them back.
Right. And the thing is that God was hardening Pharaoh's heart, but the reason he did that in those situations was because he knew the true condition of Pharaoh's heart. The true condition of Pharaoh's heart was pride, and he knew he was never going to turn to God. So that's why he hardened his heart in order to have those like events take place for the glory of God, to show the Israelites like how powerful and big God is. But that pride is just so nasty. Like when I think of pride, I think of like anything that kind of makes you feel like you don't need God or anything, like you don't need to pray, I don't need to do this, I'm good. Or like even little stuff where it's like, oh, I can handle this by myself. There's a little bit of pride in that, because we're supposed to lean on God for everything. So when there's things that comes like, oh, I'm just gonna deal with this one on my own, that's still prideful. You know what I mean? And that's why I say, like, I think everybody in some form or fashion struggles with pride to an extent, and pride is very sneaky. Like, it could just creep up to even situations where someone's like, oh, I don't sin, or I don't deal with that, so X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? Like, even
it's
those
also,
are prideful.
pride is also one of the hardest things to overcome, because when you are prideful, a lot of the times you don't know that you're being prideful.
Yep, and it takes God to tell you. God has to tell you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I heard one, I don't even know where it was, who said it, whatever. It was on Instagram, though. And someone said that if it wasn't for pride, all the sins, all the principalities, all of that would repent. And I was like, if you think about it, that's true. Because what is keeping people from repenting and keeping people from God is pride. Regardless if it's lust, if it's this, if it's that, if it's whatever. Pride is the thing that's keeping them from recognizing that what they're doing is wrong. And I was just like, wow. You know, like, to really think that if it wasn't for pride, then all these sins would be repented. It's like, because we always think like, oh, look at this sin, look at this sin, look at this sin. But if you really break down pride, like, pride is what has people feeling like God is, or they are God even. Like, they're the God of their life. They're in control, you know? And I just wanted to share that, because when I heard that, I was like, oh, I didn't even think about it like that.
No. Let's talk about another person in the Bible who, when it comes to pride, Jonah.
Now look, Jonah,
he experienced pride too, because what happened with Jonah? Jonah was told to go to a city.
Nineveh.
God told him to go there, and Jonah didn't want to.
He said, those people? Oh no, not them.
Because he looked down on those people.
For Jonah had so much pride that even when he said, okay, God, I'll go talk to these people, and God said, I will forgive these people, Jonah was upset.
Yeah, he was
like,
mad.
why
would you
like forgive
that?
these people, like them?
So what did Jonah do? He ran away.
No, but even, I'm saying, after he said yes to God, after he was like, okay, God, take me out of the fish's mouth, and then he went to go talk to the people, then, you know what I mean? Then he was still like, why would you forgive them? And I feel like if you were in pride so much so that you ran away and got swallowed up by a fish, after that, you shouldn't have no pride in none of the stuff. To see that he was still in pride after he got saved from the fish was just like, hello? Like, what's not clicking up here?
No. And then for those of you who don't know the story of Jonah, Jonah was given an assignment by God and chose to not do it. So he ran away. And because he ran away, God allowed a whale,
fish,
a whale to swallow him. And he was in the belly of the whale until God asked him again, are you going to go do what I asked you to do? And at that point is when he decided to do it. But once he was given that assignment, he decided to do it after the second time being asked. He still got mad with God because
at the message that God was saying.
Because God told him, like Marissa was just saying, he was going to forgive the
people of Nineveh,
city, the city
because,
of people.
He initially sent him there to give them a warning of like, I'm gonna destroy this city, like, you guys are terrible. And they tore their clothes, they were very repentant. God was like, I'm gonna forgive them. And Jonah was like, forgive them for what? Because the thing is, Jonah was all gung-ho, he was all happy when he was going there to tell them that they was gonna be destroyed and they was gonna have judgment. But then when God was like, no, I'm going to forgive them, then all of a sudden he's like, oh, I don't like that, God. I don't like that. So pride, as you can see, like, even people that are used by God are in pride. Like, there's some pastors that struggle with pride.
There's no one that can hide from pride at all. But we have one more story for you, which is the one that I was getting mixed up.
Saul.
Yep. Saul, whose name was later changed to Paul.
And he was
he experienced pride as well too. And with pride with Saul, he thought he knew God, what God wanted.
What God wanted,
yeah,
right.
he like a speaker for God. Like, he represented God on earth, basically.
Right. I know.
Exactly.
What God
had
would
his
want.
chest out and everything.
I know what God would want in this situation, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it.
Absolutely. His selfishness and ambition caused him to be blinded to God's love and focus on being right all the time and being better than everyone. So God literally blinded him. He was on his way
to go kill some folks.
Yeah. He was on his way to not do something righteous.
But he thought it was righteous.
He did, because he knew that's what God wanted.
See, that's the thing. Pride would have you doing something that you think is right, but be completely off. Like, you could go boldly to go do the wrong thing. Yep. But go ahead, continue. My bad.
No, that was literally it. Like, and God literally blinded him on the way. He could not see, which humbled him.
Because he had to ask a Christian, which is the people he was going to go kill. He had to ask a Christian. Well, no, he didn't have to ask a Christian. He had to wait for a Christian to come so he can see, because God told him, like, this is the person who's going to bring your sight back. And the thing is when God told the Christian was like, you want me to go to Paul, the one who killed him, the murderer? And he had to put his pride down to see, like, it was bigger than him. You know what I mean? If we sit here and think of the people in the Bible that dealt with pride, we'd be sitting here all day. We could talk about Cain. We could even talk about Moses, because at one point Moses didn't get to enter the promised land. Why? Because he didn't follow the instructions of God, because he was being prideful, you know? I was gonna say Noah, but I don't know. Noah a little something different. But but I think that it's really just pride. Pride makes people want power. They want everything to make themselves more and make everyone else less.
Now that you think about it, the reason why we have the devil is because of his pride. This is why, and for those who don't know, the devil used to be an angel. You know, like God's number 2.
But then
his pride,
he said, hold on, I'm number 2.
I like, you know,
I'm trying to be number 1.
We all have those moments, okay? Let's not sit here in front, Christian or not. We all have those moments where we're like, I like being in charge. Now I need to be the headmaster.
Why does this person get this?
And I know I could do it better than this.
I've been doing this longer.
Okay.
They don't even sound good. They can't even sing. They don't even know what they're talking about. Look at their life. Like, what?
Yeah, pride is.
I feel like
it's dangerous.
You have to check yourself continually with pride, because pride can. I don't know. Like, I check myself to make sure I'm not being prideful all the time. Even not me trying to be outward prideful against, like, people, but even in the posture of my heart when it comes to, like, certain things. As you know, like, we've talked about busy season. We thought last season was busy. I don't know what going on these last few months, but golly, to think like I can still, there were some things that I was putting more work into than, like, more praying. And it was kind of like I had to be like, okay, am I being prideful because I'm like, okay, God gave me this, now I have to do this. So I didn't take God fully out of it, but it was kind of like, I'm like, okay, now I have to put more work into it and less work over here. And it doesn't work that way. You can't be prideful in those things. There was this saying that I heard, and someone said, like, if you don't seek God in the good time, if you don't seek God in the bad times, what makes you think you will seek him in the good? And that was kind of just saying, like, when people are like, why am I going through this season, or why is there hard seasons, or why is this? And it's to teach you to seek God and to make it a part of your, like, every day. But it also kind of humbles you to recognize, like, I'm not above whatever it is. And I think that's part of also the reason why Christians, we keep saying, like, we don't have it easy. I think part of the reason why Christians still don't have it easy. One, we are human. Two, there's spiritual warfare. But also, if Christians, if Christians had it easy in all of the things that we did, we would become prideful because we wouldn't have to deal with the things of the world, right? Mm-hmm. But just because we gave our life to God doesn't mean that we aren't going to experience hardships. And I think that also keeps us humble in a way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like we're like, oh, I'm better than, like, I serve God like I'm better than you. Some people are like that, but it's kind of, I'm trying to figure out how to explain it. It kind of helps us to have grace, like I keep saying. And I think it's hard to have grace when you're in pride as well. You can't have grace if you're prideful.
No. Proverbs 11:2 says, when pride comes, then comes shame, but with the humble is wisdom. It says a lot.
With the humble is wisdom.
Yeah, it says a lot. With the humble is wisdom. I think when it comes to pride, like we were saying earlier, it's kind of one of the hardest things that we can actually acknowledge ourselves to see that we're doing it. And just like you were just saying,
like hard to recognize.
Yeah, recognize. And just like where you were saying just now that, you know, Christians don't have it easy. And a part of that is because when you're not a Christian, we all know you're accountable to something or someone. Christians realize who they're accountable to. Versus a non-Christian, they know that there's accountability, but they don't have a specific person that they wish to answer.
Yeah, they could think like they're accountable to themselves. They're like, they determine what's good and bad. That's a lot of it. Like, a lot of people think that they determine what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong. And that's not true. That's pride. Because you know what I'm saying? Like, if everybody sat here and determined what was good, what was bad, your good would be different than mine. Good would be subjective. You know what I mean? And there would be no, like, line. So pride often has, like, its way of making bad good and good bad. So, yeah.
No, you're absolutely right in that. Wanted to share this. Pride is the sin that caused Satan to fall. Pride is destructive to one's relationship with God. Pride is destructive to human relationship. That's relationship between two people. And pride is self-destructive. You can destroy yourself by being prideful. So I really want to say that again. Is pride is the sin that caused Satan to fall. Which is what we were saying, the story of how the devil became the devil, because he was once God's angel. Pride is destructive to one's relationship with God, so your personal relationship with God. And like we said, everyone falls short of pride. So whether you're a Christian or not a Christian, we all fall short to pride. So that relationship can be destroyed by pride. Pride is destructive to human relationships. So my relationship with Marissa could instantly change because of pride. If we both were, or even one of us, filled with pride.
Right.
And then pride is self-destructive. If I'm prideful, it doesn't have to fall or gravitate towards anybody else. Just me living in pride can destroy me, you know? Not only does it destroy outside other relationships, but the greatest relationship outside of God is yourself. And it destroys that. You forget who you are.
Yep.
You're lost at this point.
The way you think
don't
changes.
And you don't feel like you are, but everyone else can see it. And it takes you humbling yourself and seeking God's guidance to overcome that prideness.
Yeah. Pridefulness is very, very dangerous, as we've said. Like, And it's sneaky. We all know somebody who we like. When we think of pride, we can all name somebody off the top of our head, you know. And the fact, and in most cases, that person wouldn't consider themselves prideful.
Absolutely
So
not.
that's just a testament also to how pride kind of reveals itself. You know, pride can have you stuck in a place that
You were meant to grow.
you are meant to come out of, or pride can make you, you know, place limits on yourself or whatever. It's just a matter of, I feel like the way, because I was gonna ask this question, but maybe I will ask it actually. You know how we said that it's hard to recognize pride? How, even though it's hard to recognize it, how do you recognize it? Like, how, if you feel ever recognize that you're prideful or whatever, whether it's against somebody else or to yourself, how do you recognize it? What questions do you ask yourself, or what, you know?
Before I answer that, I just want to say you cannot experience God's glory being prideful.
Yeah.
You just can't. But to answer your question of recognizing pride when it's in you, people see it before you do. So unless you're oblivious and ignorant to your surroundings, there has to be some idea or some acknowledgement that someone else is seeing you differently for you to just completely to just be oblivious to the fact that you're being prideful. Whether or not you accept it, that's not the point. The point is, you said acknowledging that you're prideful.
Right.
And in order to acknowledge it, you have to, your surrounding will tell you. Things will start to change, especially as a Christian. When you start becoming prideful, or when you start, when you shift, everything around you shifts as well too, intentionally.
Yeah.
Because God shifts because God intentionally shifts those things. So what was once his glory, what was once his blessing onto you, it starts to change. Whether it's your money change, your cash flow changing, the people around you falling off.
Yep.
Or
And I
falling away, people you thought
Yeah.
that would never change in your life. Is it them changing, or is it you?
Yep.
That's really the question.
Yeah.
Is it them, or is it you? Because as a Christian, you are held accountable for everything you do, say, and touch. And God will make it clear as day
You'll start to see
when he starts to see those, those patterns. Yep.
for a while, like,
Yeah.
you'll start to see.
They do happen. They can't happen instantly, but sometimes it takes a while. And it's, when I say it takes a while, it just, everything one by one starts falling off. You're running out of money. Every other week your car's breaking down. Something is just happening into your life, and it's just like, why, God? Why is this happening, that happening, this happening? Check yourself.
Yeah, and
Check yourself.
I also think that sometimes things can be out of pride that if someone else did it, it wouldn't be. So I think it's a lot of self-reflection as well, spending a lot of time with God, looking at yourself. Because have you ever had a situation where you're venting to God, talking about, oh my gosh, this person did this, da 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 da, and what's God gonna do? Put a mirror right in your face. But you were this, and that, and He has you work on yourself. See, like, oh, but what did I do in that situation? Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I shouldn't have responded that way. Maybe I shouldn't have. You know what I mean? And it's not like an antagonistic, but it's kind of like you're so busy pointing the finger, you're not recognizing what's within yourself. Just like the word says, like, you're pointing out the speck in your brother's eye when you have a plank out of your own eye. Look at yourself. And what I was saying, like, sometimes things might be done out of pride from you, but if someone else did it, it might not be. For instance, like, say you would say, like, oh, look at their family, like, I wish I had that, right? And then say I would be like, oh, look at their family, I wish I had that. But I could be saying it out of pride, like, I deserve it more. That doesn't mean that when you said it, it was out of pride. That doesn't mean that statement was prideful. But a lot of times, and it might not even be like that kind of situation, but you know, you might snap at somebody or something. And it's also sometimes important to evaluate where certain feelings, certain emotions, jealousy, whatever it is, where that's coming from. You know what I mean? Peel back the layers. Like, what is the spirit behind? Why did I say that? Why did I snap at her? Why did I see her picture on Instagram and I was like, and scrolled past it? What was behind that? And then when you start to actually evaluate the root of why you're doing the things that you're doing, you can see that maybe I have pride. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm being prideful in this. So I think that it's a mixture of, like, your surroundings will for sure let you know. You know what I mean? Like, you need to check yourself. But also sometimes little things that you do will also, if you take the effort, they will allow you to see it as well.
What's crazy, because I put this in my notes, and it was so powerful when it came to me. It says, pride has kept many people from accepting Jesus Christ as their Savior.
Yep.
Pride.
Because they don't think they need a Savior, right?
Man.
They don't think they're doing anything wrong.
I'm even lost for words, because I just, saying that again out loud, it's just like, what else can you say? Like,
because the thing is when you give your life to God, He's going to do a work in you. He's going to show you the things about yourself that aren't right, that might be wicked, you might have wickedness in your heart. And wickedness, I mean things that aren't of God. But you might, and a lot of people don't want to see that. You know what I mean? You know, I said, like, He'll turn a mirror on you. He will. Because the change doesn't come from, oh my gosh, this person's that. If you change those people, you would never change. You know what I mean? You would never change, because you're so worried about everybody else changing. How about you? Sometimes if you're changed, that thing might not even bother you anymore.
Right.
That you might not even respond the same. So a lot of times, like, when we're like, oh, this person's irritating, oh, this is the, sometimes, yeah, okay, it could be they're irritating, but sometimes it's something in you that you need to fix. You know?
Amen. Yeah. So I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do we ever think about the consequences of pride, Christian or not?
I think.
We'll answer both. Answer as a Christian, and then
I was gonna say, I think as a Christian we do, but I don't necessarily know if we think about the consequences of it more than we just think about trying not to do it, because there's a lot of scriptures that try to make sure that we're not prideful. So I think we think about it just as much as we think about being godly in any other way. But so some people who aren't of God, I think that they do, because I think people who also aren't necessarily Christian recognize that pride is dangerous and pride is not a good thing. But I don't think they recognize the nuance of pride on how many different things that can be prideful. I think there's a very big, this is what pride is. This is only one way that pride can show itself. So, like, in the world, I think that's the general notion, when I think there's so many different nuances of what pride could look like or what pride is, you know? So to answer your question, again, like totality, as a Christian, I think that we do think about not necessarily the consequences of it, but think about trying to avoid being prideful, just as we think about trying to be godly in any other way. And in the world, I think it's split, because some people do still recognize that pride is a dangerous thing and something that is destructive. But I think they think only one type of pride is destructive, or they only see pride as being one thing. And then there's some people who don't really care. They take pride. I take pride in, they stand on the fact that they are prideful, rather than recognizing that prideful is not necessarily the best thing to stand on. There are some people who do stand on it. What do you?
That was well put.
Okay.
That was well put. Yeah. So I completely agree with you. I think as Christians we do understand that there's consequences to being prideful, whether or not we see ourselves being prideful in that moment. And in the worldly sense, I do think that whether you're a Christian or not, people know pride is self-destructive and that it's not a good thing, you know, so to speak. But yeah, so that's it for today's episode. To end it off with, I would like to challenge some of you guys to comment below what your thoughts are on pride. Share an experience that you experienced, you saw yourself being prideful, and did someone tell you that you were being prideful? Did you know you were being prideful on your own after the issue or situation happened? Let us know. Be completely honest. We're not here to judge. We're just here to help you through, things that you're maybe struggling with, that you need help, guidance, and
just to have conversation.
Absolutely. So let us know. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Bye.
God's telling you to go this way, and you're like, oh, I see a shortcut here. You chose to go what you thought was best versus what God told you to do.
So